Hi, this is video number 89. Got all my stuff done this morning. Went out and mowed. It's very humid here in the East Coast today. I went out and mowed. Talked to my neighbor next door. I did get to go over to their property yesterday. Okay, they're the people that had the tree blew over, and I was wanting to cut it up and take the stump out and so forth. So my wife called over there, and I talked to the lady that lives over there, and she said it'd be okay if I came over and worked on it a little bit because her husband wanted to get it out of there sometime this week. So I went over yesterday and I cut it up, and then I actually did get the stump out of the ground. It took a little more work than I thought it would, but got it out of there today. We put it in his truck and took it out to somewhere and dumped it in a fence row. So tree's gone. Looks good over there. However, it took them more than a week to try to get rid of this tree because we have in this township a shade tree commission. You're not allowed to take down trees without their permission. So they thought they could get fined if they didn't, if they took the tree out, they thought they could get fined like $600, I think it is, or something, which is absurd, really. It's ridiculous. But they kind of got permission because part of the tree was on the road. So that's why it took so long. They also are required to plant another tree there, which to me makes no sense because this is between the sidewalk and the road, and it's going to make in time it makes the sidewalk uneven and heave up, and then you got to replace the sidewalk, and that costs money, and just too much government in this country, at least in this state. Okay, and also I got to talk. I had never talked to this guy. They moved in about a year ago. They have a dog, this big dog. And I found out today the dog's name is Mo. But this dog has had a habit in the last several months of coming to me, putting his muzzle against my leg, showing his teeth and growling. And I'm thinking, like, this dog is big. He's going to take a chunk out of my leg. And I've made it very clear by my actions I'm not happy with Mo. So anyway, I learned today that his name is Mo, and that he would not have bitten me if I would have put my hand down and pet him, which I don't know about that. I don't know if that's true or not. I never had a dog, so I don't know how I know how dogs can be. I've been bitten by dogs, but I've never had one of my own. So anyway, Mo is friendly. My plan is to maybe get some doggy treats, and when I'm over on that side of the house, call him Mo, and I give him a treat. Maybe Mo and I can be friends. I don't know, but anyway, I got to talk to the guy. Real nice guy. Got to tell him some of the stuff I've been through, and I think we are actually going to be friends, so that's a good thing. Let me see what else. Came home, did vacuuming, did a few other things. I got an email from my sister who lives in Wisconsin. She found out that we have a half sister. She had a DNA test done for Ancestry.com or something. Her DNA somehow matched very closely someone else's who was actually adopted when she was little, and through the process of all of this, she contacted my sister, and this is a half sister that we thought maybe we had, but we weren't sure. Well, now we know. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know how to process that exactly. It's just weird thinking I have another sister. That's sort of cool. I've always been the baby of the family. I've always had that title for my entire life. But this lady happens to be older than I am, so I guess I'm going to carry that title to my grave. I don't know. So that was sort of interesting earlier today. The other night I was at church. We have what are called small groups, kind of like they're groups that meet at different times of the week. You go over it could be a Bible study, it could be study of a book, it could be lots of different things. Mine happens to be right after the service on Sundays. And what I do is I lead this group and I talk about what the pastor just talked about in his message. They know everybody was there. They don't have to read the book. They were there. They heard it. So that's what we do. But they're wanting in September to start like something new that could have more people come to that would be interested. And about a year ago, I wanted to do a small group on a book. It's a book about kind of like anxiety, depression, different things people go through. And the title of the book is called it's Healing for Damaged Emotions. It's a really, really good book. Back in the 1997-98, somebody gave me a copy of it when I was going through, when my whole psychotropic drug thing started back in 97-98. And they gave me this book and I read it. It was really good. It helped me out a good bit. So I'm hoping to start that at the beginning of September. That should be interesting. And I suspect as I share things that I will learn of a lot of people in our own church who are on psych drugs. That just seems to be the way it goes. When you start sharing your story, you learn. People like open up and they start sharing their story too. And a lot of times there are psych drugs involved, especially benzos and antidepressants. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, I was communicating yesterday with someone who would like me to do a video for parents of people in withdrawal. And that's interesting because I never actually have thought of doing one like that. I've spoken to and sent videos to people who are spouses of someone in withdrawal. Parents, that's different. I think, that should be interesting because I am a parent, I'm a father, and I have also been through withdrawal. So maybe I could give parents some understanding of what their children are going through and how this is not just like snap your fingers, do this and that, and that'll help and you'll get well. I'm gonna have to spend some time thinking about that one because that one's I'm gonna have to say things just right and then talk about the right kinds of things. Anyway, I was wondering if any of you have suggestions about that, a video for parents of people going through withdrawal. If you have suggestions or would recommend something that maybe I should cover or talk about, just let me know. Send me an email and I'll consider it and probably talk about it in some way. So there you go. And as I had said earlier in the week, today is my 6-year anniversary of being off Klonopin. 6 whole years. I remember the last little bit of Klonopin I took, that little tiny, it was 1/8 of a milligram. It was a dissolvable one because I couldn't cut. I didn't know anything about liquid tapers and so forth, so I was cutting dry for the longest time. And then to get 1/8 of a milligram off of a dry tablet was impossible. So my doctor did actually get me dissolvable Klonopin, and the smallest dose was 1/8 of a milligram, and that's what I jumped from. But I remember taking that very last one and then kind of like freaking out I was jumping from it. I was terrified for weeks before, thinking like, I'm approaching 0 milligrams. I'm approaching a place where I will be on no drugs. I had already given up the booze 10 months earlier, and now I was giving up this drug that I had taken for 13 years. So I was really, really freaking out over there will be nothing in me. I will have what I looked at as a crutch. And that's what my therapist was telling me too. You won't have your crutch anymore. And she really was not helpful in that way. But I thought maybe the first day I jumped, life would fall apart, and it didn't. It wasn't any worse. Actually, for the first month, it was not any worse than it was the tolerance withdrawal as I was tapering. It hadn't gotten any worse, but after a month, things did kind of go south pretty quick. And that was fear. The first thing was just fear. I just had this irrational fear, and then wow, 6 years though. When I think back on the whole experience, it just boggles my mind all that we go through in this process. It's incredible, really. And I think, when I think of the 6 years, I think back to when I quit drinking 10 months earlier. How like the first 2 weeks it wasn't good, but it seemed like it might get better, and then the bottom fell out. And then I realized the Klonopin. I got to do something with the Klonopin, and it took so long. So I can relate to all of you people that takes a long time. It took me about 3 years from the day I quit drinking till I could say like I feel good, I'm better now. It took almost 3 years, just a little bit under 3 years. So today is, I don't know, I think back on all of the, the stuff that I went through. It's really amazing. It's very, very amazing. But here I am, I'm alive, I'm well, which is incredible to me, how well I actually am. That my brain works, that I'm not afraid, I'm happy, I'm free of the drugs. It's wonderful. Anyway, I better get to two emails. I got two emails. First one was from John. He says, "Hi Don, maybe you can explain what someone on BenzoBuddies says is the cause of head pressure. He says it's that darn chemical glutamate. The pressure is caused by inflammation of brain tissue. I take aspirin every 4 hours for 24 hours at a time. It always ends the glutamate storm till the next one comes along. What is he talking about? And do you agree or not? Thanks." Okay, head pressure. Okay, first of all, glutamate. Okay, you have two basic, when it comes to this sort of withdrawal, when your brain generally, your nervous system, there's the major excitatory neurotransmitter is glutamate. Your body makes glutamate. That's what gives you like the mental energy. That's what makes neurons fire. It's what makes your nervous system work, do things, think, feel, do everything that the nervous system is designed to do or that it has evolved to do, however you look at that. And the other major neurotransmitter is the inhibitory neurotransmitter GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid. They kind of work not against each other, more in sync with each other. They're kind of like synchronized. Your body, like when it's fine-tuned, like there's this balance between them to keep you from getting too much excitatory glutamate and you're kind of out of control, and that can cause like anxiety and fear and all kinds of stuff. But if too much inhibition from the GABA causes lethargic, your brain, less activity, less firing, and your brain doesn't want too much of either one. Although I think if it had to choose, it would choose more of the excitatory neurotransmitter, more glutamate. So anyway, in benzo withdrawal, you have less of the inhibitory neurotransmitter, less inhibition. In other words, your brain is more active than it would normally be, meaning there is, at this point, there is relatively speaking more glutamate than there is GABA. Like the proportion of glutamate to GABA is much, much higher. Now, whether that causes inflammation of brain tissue, I kind of doubt that. Inflammation is actually, that's just a symptom of the glutamate being in a greater proportion than it would normally be compared to GABA. So I don't think the inflammation comes from the glutamate itself, but it's caused by the effects of the glutamate. It's one of the effects of the glutamate. I mean, this particular person took aspirin every 4 hours for 24 hours when this would happen, and that worked for him, and that's good. But I don't think it's the brain tissue getting inflamed. I don't think that's what a headache is anyway. And I'm sure there are all kinds of different causes for headaches, but we all look at all of the different symptoms in a different way, what actually is causing them. And overall, what's causing it is downregulation of the GABA receptors. That's part of it, and I think probably too a lack of GABA probably has been caused by the benzos. And so anyway, what he's talking about is the glutamate is the major excitatory neurotransmitter in the body, and it is during withdrawal. It's in a higher proportion than what one would normally have if they weren't in withdrawal. So that's kind of what it is. I don't agree with the inflammation being caused directly by the GABA, but the GABA is probably, you could say, indirectly affecting it, or not the GABA, but the glutamate is indirectly affecting it. It's causing symptoms, but not directly. It's indirect. Okay. So second email here is from Bree. I had answered one of hers last week, I think, but I overlooked something apparently. So she writes, "Thank you so much for the video you did for my email. It was extremely reassuring. Question though, There was one part of the email I wrote that is really affecting me, and I just want to talk through it with you real quick. I wrote it in that prior email that even when I have a slight lift in the depersonalization and the fear, thoughts, etc., there's part of my brain still saying this isn't you feeling normal. That's never going to happen again. This is as good as it gets. You're broken forever, etc. It's like my brain is literally going back and forth, playing tug of war with truth versus lies. Do you remember struggling with this, or have others? When it is all very intense and thick, the thoughts are strictly you're gone and don't know who you are and will never feel a tinge of being normal. But it almost feels just as bad when there is a slight lift. I'm beyond frustrated. This is all still just my brain trying to figure things out and is still confused, right? Yes, you are right. This particular question and what you're discussing here reminds me of a particular day in my withdrawal, one specific day. It was the day, I've talked about this one before, it was my grandson's first birthday party. I was like 14 and a half months off. And we had his birthday party out at our church. And like there's this big general purpose room. And he was out there crawling around on the floor. He couldn't walk yet. And I was feeling like pretty decent. I felt comfortable around the other people. And I was crawling around on the floor too. And I was starting to feel, like, hey, I'm going to be normal. I'm going to feel well again. I could tell, like, I'm going to be well again. I knew it. And I remember I went into the kitchen and my brother-in-law's wife was there and she was making coffee. And I actually had 2 cups of coffee. I hadn't had coffee in 2 years. So anyway, I felt good about that. I felt a little weird talking to the people, but overall really pretty good. And then I remember coming home. And it was the day of the freak snowstorm, like October 29th, I think. That's when it was in 2011. The freak snowstorm here in Pennsylvania. I remember going home and I sat down and Penn State was on television, played Illinois, and it was like a real messy game. There was like wet snow falling and stuff, and sort of a depressing looking day there. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about, out at the church and feeling pretty good, and then the fear started pouring in on me, like, you're not well, you made that up. Like, you're here now in the chair that you always sit in, doing what you always do. Nothing's changing. You're not going to be normal. You don't feel normal. You didn't feel normal out there either. You were just kidding yourself. You're just, you just were lying to yourself that you were normal and feeling good, which actually is the lie. The lie is my brain telling me that I was lying to myself. This is like, withdrawal is insidious. It's almost evil. It's sinister. It's almost like the brain is trying to destroy itself. It seems that way. I had thoughts like that. I honestly did. And what you're talking about here is, I think of that day. It was a good day up until I got to sit down and relax. And then the thoughts started, like the fear thoughts, like, you're always going to be this way. It doesn't get better than this. You've gotten as good as you're going to get. Like, you're not ever going to be normal again. In fact, you never were. You were fooling yourself all those years. You thought you felt good. You actually have never felt good in your life. And that's what my brain did. And it's very common. I hear this all the time from people. It's so strange thinking the brain is lying to itself. I think like for me, it spent so much time looking for the answer. Like, your brain resolves things. It comes up with solutions. And my brain spent so much time pondering and trying to figure out what was wrong with it that it almost kind of just gave up and said, okay, I give up. I'm going to just go with all of the lies that this withdrawal was causing, to the point where I actually started believing them. And that's why it was so important for me to keep reading success stories. That's what I had. There were no videos or people to call at the time. And that's why I clung with my very life to success stories because that was the only twinge of hope that I ever got. I would always get that little spark from the success stories at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and that was what kind of kept me going all that time. Because the lies, like you read the success stories and people say you're going to be well, it gets really good after this, and you want to believe it so much, so it kind of hit like sparks of hope, sparks of like, yeah, I believe that, but I mean, it didn't last like the whole 24 hours, but there were moments where I thought this could be true, like what they're saying may be true, maybe this is a lie that my brain's telling me, maybe my brain's lying to me that I'm lying. It's just this, our brains cycle in so many different ways in withdrawal. They just loop all kinds of weird stuff like that, stuff like intrusive thoughts, on and on and on. I had those. It was horrible. Those lasted a long time and finally subsided somewhat when I allowed myself to have them. I said, okay, think of the absolute nastiest, grossest thing you could think of, and it's okay. Just keep thinking about it. And after a while, I quit thinking about it because it wasn't forbidden anymore. So I guess maybe my brain wasn't having fun doing that to me anymore. I don't know. So anyway, all the bizarre thinking, all of the woe is me, this is it, I'm never going to be well again. It's all a lie. It really is. But it sounds so believable. It sounds, you feel like garbage, and your brain's telling you like you're always going to feel like garbage. So it's like, well, I have felt this bad for so long that probably is true that I'm toast. This is it. This is the way I'm going to be for the rest of my life. Well, it's not true. It's just simply not true. And it gets a whole lot better. You'll turn the corner. You'll all turn the corner eventually. But the brain's just having a hard time finding its way back to the way it was before you put benzos in it. And it will. It does. It takes some of us a lot longer than it takes others, but it is a lie. All of the thinking, all of the weird thoughts, all of the lies are lies. That's all that they are. And the worse they make you feel, the bigger the lie that it's causing them, for sure. That's no question of that. I've been there. I mean, I know that the whole mental part of this was the most disturbing to me, especially the lying, because you don't know. You're trying to cling to truth, and you're trying to know what the truth is. And the truth is, for me, it was in the success stories, but my brain kept saying, no, that's not true. They're lying to you. They all know. I mean, I believe this too. They all ganged up. They know you're sitting here going, reading their stuff. So they all lied so that you're going to sit here and like, you're going to think you're getting better when you're really not, because this is the way you're going to be. So it's all untruths. There's nothing true about it. I know it's hard. Very, very difficult. Okay, I'm at 23 minutes here. I'll let you go. This is Saturday. Hope you're having a decent weekend. I'm going to take some time this afternoon and think about a video for parents of people in withdrawal. It's not one that I ever thought about before. So if you have some suggestions, and I know we all got parents, although some of our parents, I guess, are gone now, but any suggestions you might have, any recommendations, something that you think is important that, like if you could have anything from someone else, like someone to do something for you who is not in withdrawal, what would it be? Like your parents, your spouse, friends. What is it? What to you is the most important thing that they can give? And what are some of the things that you would rather them not try to give you, like suggestions and so forth? Anything that you can think of, because I want this to be a good one, because this is an opportunity to try to convince some people who aren't in withdrawal what it's like, and to help them to know what they can do, the best things they can do to help each one of you get through. Because I was there. I needed all the help I could get from anywhere, and I reached out anywhere I could, and it would have been nice if some of the people around me would have at least, been doing things that could have helped me a little bit more. But, overall, I was pretty blessed to not have people to antagonize me and push things at me too much. After at the beginning, there was a little bit of that, but then later people realized that I was really sick and that anything they tried to push at me was not helping and actually making me worse, including my therapist. But I won't go there because that's a whole big video by itself. So I'll let you go. Hope the rest of your Saturday's good and Sunday. And as always, I'm right here. Take care. Bye bye.